I watched my brother's bones snap and reform under his skin. I heard him scream not in pain, but in ecstasy. And when he turned to look at me with those yellow eyes, I knew the man I'd loved my entire life was gone. What stood before me was the punishment for our father's sin, and the curse that would hunt our bloodline forever. Nightbound Bloodline presents the disturbing origin of the first werewolf. Before we dive into tonight's nightmare, I need you to understand something crucial. What you're about to hear isn't some recycled folklore or campfire story. This is a confession raw, terrifying, and disturbingly real from a woman who witnessed something that should have remained buried in the ancient past. 3 months ago, we received a package. No return address, no name, just a USB drive in a manila envelope with 8 words scrawled on a note. Tell them the truth about Lycaon. Tell them what the gods really did to us. We almost threw it away. We get dozens of fake submissions every week, but something about those 8 words made us hesitate, made us plug in that drive. What we found changed everything we thought we knew about werewolves. The woman who sent us this confession was everything you wouldn't expect. Dr. Sarah, that's not her real name, but it'll do, was a respected professor of classical studies, published author, tenured at a prestigious university. She taught Greek mythology, but treated it like cultural anthropology, nothing more. She was the ultimate skeptic. The kind of person who'd explain away every ghost story with sleep paralysis, and every monster sighting with mass hysteria. If anyone was immune to supernatural nonsense, it was her. That immunity lasted exactly 37 years, right up until she set foot in a cave in the mountains of Arcadia, Greece. Because some discoveries don't just change your mind, they shatter your entire reality. The archaeological site was discovered by Turkish shepherds after a landslide exposed what had been sealed for millennia. When Dr. Sarah arrived with her team, she expected routine academic work, photograph some pottery shards, catalog some bronze tools, write another forgettable paper. Instead, she found hundreds of carvings covering the cave walls. But these weren't typical Greek art, no heroes, no gods lounging on clouds. Every single carving showed the same scene, repeated obsessively. A human figure caught mid-transformation into something bestial. The carbon dating results made no sense. 3,200 years old, minimum. These carvings predated every written account of lycanthropy by centuries. Someone had been there. Someone had witnessed the birth of the werewolf curse, and they'd carved their testimony into stone. But the cave had more secrets, and they were about to wake up. It started with the dreams. Dr. Sarah would find herself running through midnight forests, but she wasn't fleeing, she was hunting. The hunger that consumed her dream self was unlike anything human. Not for food, but for the chase, for blood, for the sweet copper taste of fear. She wasn't alone. Every member of the research team began having the same nightmares. Dr. Vasilis dreamed of being hunted by something with too many teeth. Sophia, a graduate student, kept dreaming of banquet tables where the meat still had human fingernails attached. They should have recognized the warning, should have packed up and left immediately. Instead, they kept digging deeper. On the 11th day, they found the chamber that had been waiting for them. The hidden chamber was discovered behind a wall of deliberately placed stones, a seal that had held for 3 millennia. The moment they broke through, the smell hit them. Not decay or age, but something organic and wrong. Wet fur, copper, and underneath it all, something that made their primitive brain stems scream. In the center of the chamber stood an altar carved from black stone that seemed to drink in their flashlights, and etched into its surface, in archaic Greek that Dr. Sarah could barely read, were the words that would haunt her forever. Here lies the testimony of Callias, son of Lycaon, who witnessed the god's wrath and survived to warn those who would follow. Do not test the immortals. Do not mistake their patience for weakness. For my father's pride, we were cursed. For his sin, we became monsters. A first-hand account from the son of the first werewolf. But Callias had carved much more than a warning into that altar. He'd left behind the most disturbing origin story ever recorded. According to Callias's stone testament, Zeus came to King Lycaon's court disguised as a simple traveler, seeking the hospitality that sacred law demanded. But Lycaon was proud, suspicious. He'd grown tired of false prophets claiming divine blood, and he suspected this stranger was just another fraud. So Lycaon devised a test so horrific that even reading about it 3,000 years later made Dr. Sarah's hands shake. He ordered his youngest son murdered, 14-year-old Nyctimos, throat cut like a sacrificial animal. Then Lycaon had the boy's body butchered, cooked, and served at the feast that night. The family ate unknowingly while Zeus watched. Every bite was an abomination. Every swallow was a step closer to divine retribution. And when Zeus revealed himself, the punishment he delivered was so cruel that it echoes through bloodlines to this day. Zeus's punishment began immediately, but not mercifully. Lycaon's transformation was slow, deliberate, designed to maximize suffering. Callias watched his father's legs bend backward as bones cracked and reformed. Watched fingers fuse into claws. Watched the familiar face he'd known his entire life push forward into a snout. But here's the detail that made Dr. Sarah vomit in that ancient cave. Lycaon's eyes stayed human throughout the entire transformation. Even as fur erupted from his skin, even as his teeth became fangs, his consciousness remained intact. He was aware, terrified, screaming silently from inside a beast's body. Zeus had created the perfect punishment, eternal imprisonment in a form driven by instincts the man inside couldn't control. But the god wasn't finished with his vengeance. The curse will not end with him, Zeus declared to Lycaon's surviving family. It will live in your bloodline. Every generation will produce one who carries the wolf inside. And when blood is spilled in anger, when the moon runs red, the transformation will come. But Zeus added a twisted element that turned punishment into plague. Anyone killed by a werewolf wouldn't simply die, they'd rise under the next full moon, transformed and hungry. The curse spread like a supernatural infection, turning victim into predator in an endless cycle. Within 6 months, half of Arcadia was empty. Villages abandoned, families scattered to distant lands, unknowingly carrying the curse with them. Callias spent his remaining years hunting his own relatives. And he carved one final warning into that altar, a warning that proved prophetic. Dr. Sarah spent the next 2 weeks researching obsessively, not sanitized academic texts, but the dark corners of history. Medieval werewolf trials, unexplained animal attacks in regions with large Greek populations, missing persons cases that followed patterns no natural predator would create. The evidence was there, had always been there, they just never connected the dots. And then Sophia, the graduate student who'd been having the worst nightmares, didn't show up for work. What they found in her hotel room confirmed their worst fears. Sophia's door was barricaded from the inside, furniture destroyed, window torn open, and leading from the wreckage into the mountains were tracks that started as human footprints and became something else entirely. 3 nights later, under a blood-red moon, the research team heard howling echo through the Arcadian peaks. Not one voice, multiple voices. A pack. The curse had infected new blood. After 3 millennia, Lycaon's punishment was spreading again. Dr. Sarah fled Greece immediately. but she couldn't outrun what she'd already discovered about herself. Back home, Dr. Sarah did what any rational person would do. After surviving supernatural horror, she tried to convince herself it was all stress-induced hallucination, mass hysteria, academic burnout. Then she remembered her grandmother's stories about fleeing Greece as a young woman, stories about why the family never spoke of their homeland. The DNA test results arrived 3 weeks later. Maternal lineage traced directly to Arcadia, to the region where Lycaon once ruled. She has a 13-year-old daughter, and during the last full moon, that daughter sleepwalked for the first time in her life. When Dr. Sarah found her in the backyard, staring at the woods, she noticed something that made her blood freeze. Her daughter turned around, and for just one moment, the moonlight caught her eyes differently. They reflected like an animal's, golden, predatory. Dr. Sarah knew the mythology. Every 7th generation, the curse manifests fully. She'd done the math, counted the bloodlines. Her daughter is the 7th. The professor who'd spent her career explaining away monsters now faces the ultimate irony. She's about to become the mother of one. Her final message to us was 3 words that still give us nightmares. She's changing, too. We haven't heard from Dr. Sarah since. The archaeological site was sealed by the Greek government 2 months after her departure. Official reason: structural instability. The research team scattered. Sophia was never found. But this story remains. And if even a fraction of it is true, then we need to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the creatures hiding in our myths. Because they aren't hiding in dark forests or abandoned ruins. They're hiding inside us, carried in bloodlines that trace back to ancient Greece, waiting for the 7th generation, waiting for the trigger that awakens what Zeus created as eternal punishment. If you're watching this, and you have Greek ancestry, particularly from Arcadia, you might want to examine your family tree. Look for patterns, disappearances, relatives who moved away suddenly and cut all contact. Or maybe you don't want to know. Maybe some family secrets are better left buried. But remember this. King Lycaon thought he could test a god and escape consequences. He was wrong, and his punishment didn't end with his transformation. It became a curse that hunts his bloodline forever. The monsters in our stories were real, and some of them still are. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because at Nightbound Bloodline, we don't just tell stories. We uncover truths that were meant to stay hidden. Drop a comment below if you have your own encounter with something that shouldn't exist. And if you're new here, check out our playlist of real supernatural confessions. The darkness runs deeper than you think, and we're just getting started. Sleep with one eye open.